everyone. Welcome to another show, another episode of Inside Sports Talk. We are joined today with our dad, wonderful, talented Mr. Romero. How are you today?
Doing very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on.
Yep.
First of many.
Yeah, let's hope.
Great. And of course, I can't forget the amazing co-host that I have. Ed, how are you?
Amazing I am. Thank you. How are you?
I am.
Yes. You hear that, Paul? Did you like my Yoda impression there? Amazing I am?
I like that.
NPR.
Well, first off, I'm really upset with you.
Whoa.
Moi?
Yeah, you.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Well, first off, we have a guest, and you just said, that was real low-key. What you're supposed to say is 20-year vet in the game, the lead AP writer for the Phoenix area. Give this man his props. The one, the only Jose Romero. That's how you bring him in. You can't bring him in like you're bringing in Vanity Six. You got to be Jerome. You got to bring in. You brought him in all soft. You got to
bring him in like you bring in Culture Club, right, Jose?
Yeah, you got to bring him in
like Jay on the drums.
Yeah, you got to bring him in like he's Morris Day. You brought him in like he's Jesse Johnson. Come on now.
Yeah, bring him in like he's Prince Rogers Nelson. You got to bring him in like that.
No. I'm one of those.
I'm going to give you one more.
I'm not going to hear the end of this. I'm getting heat for this.
Hold on, to give you one more crack. This man has been in the game for more than 20 years. Lead AP writer. The man who's covered from Seattle down to Phoenix. If you want it, you want to read it, one of the best articles about what's going on right now in our COVID life. He has a life story. It's up on his Twitter. Bring this man in. The one, the only Jose Romero. Romero, what's up, baby?
Former Costco employee. Nice to be here.
Really though, no joke. Check out his story. Amazing. Just not even enough words to describe what that is, and just another level. That was a great write. Appreciate you for sharing that and opening up for that. So a lot has been happening since we last had a show. And one of the many things, and it has been the talk of the day, is MLB COVID outbreak. The Marlins, 14 players, 15 was the first initially reported. I have been out of the news for the last couple hours, to be honest. I don't know if that's changed. Just recently heard Manfred, finally, commissioner, finally it opened up and issued a statement, or came on MLB Network, if I remember correctly. Ed, you can correct me, and spoke, and saying that this is not a nightmare scenario, and this is just the beginning of what I believe is a nightmare. We've talked about it in the prior shows. We've talked about it on the Sports Case. We talked about it on the panels that Peter has put together with ex-athletes that played the game, and throughout the media. And we're not even a week. We're just days into MLB season, and we're seeing this to where we already have tonight's home opener for the Marlins canceled. I'm seeing it as the beginning of the end, even though the commish is saying is not shutting it down. What is it going to take? What are your thoughts?
Well, guys, I think, first of all, I mean, you have to kind of go back and was it the Marlins being irresponsible? Was it the lack of cleanliness in the Philadelphia clubhouse, the visiting clubhouse? What's the root of this? Does it go back to when they were playing exhibition games against the Braves? It's what an unfortunate situation, and this is just the nightmare situation for Rob Manfred, right? I mean, We were all so excited. I know I was. I was so happy to see baseball on opening night on Thursday. And I was so happy I watched baseball all weekend, and then boom, we get hit with this. And it's hard to disagree with you, Joanna, saying that this is kind of the beginning of the end. You just hope that they can contain it to where they have it, to where it is. Thankfully, it's out in the East, and maybe it won't impact the West. But that being said, if you alter the schedule for the Eastern teams, do you have to alter it for everybody else? You got to find a way to get the 60 games in, right? So we're looking at double headers. We're looking at, playing on off days. It's a logistical nightmare for these guys. It's pretty tough, and I certainly hope they can navigate their way through it. I hope there's no more positive tests. But it's just hard to imagine if you can't trace it back to where it came from, you might have some more.
I don't think it could be any less nightmarish, Joe and Jose and PLR. It's just awful. Like you said, 14 personnel out of 33 that went to Atlanta and Philadelphia got the virus. They couldn't even go back home after the game on Sunday. They had to stay back in Philadelphia on Monday, try to get back today so they could get this Orioles game in, but they had to eventually cancel it like you mentioned. And it couldn't be any more nightmarish. You couldn't even get your home opener against the Orioles done. The Orioles were already in Miami and they were ready to go. They had to turn around and go back home. They're going to hopefully get their games in with the Marlins back home in Baltimore. But let's see if they even get that. If there's a team for the Marlins to even field, if you've got almost half of your team, your staff, and your players out with this COVID thing, I don't even know how they're going to field a team. This couldn't be even more horrific and a worse start for Rob Manfred in Major League Baseball, that pretty much an entire baseball team is decimated after the first weekend. This is awful.
I'm going to take the business side of this and say, you guys need to get some umbrellas, because it is not doom and gloom. It is not raining cats and dogs. This is not the end of Ghostbusters with the State Marshmallow coming to get us all. There's a reason why they had 60 players ready to go. They expected that there would be an outbreak. They expected that there'd be a team that would fall victim to this. Do I think there should have even been a season? No. I think the only way you can do this is to put teams in a bubble. But realistically, baseball wasn't going to do that. So this is just one of those things that are going to happen. It's going to happen to another team. It's going to hit another team at another time.
And Paul, it already did. I mean, the Phillies and the Yankees had to cancel their game because the Yankees were going to use the same clubhouse that the Marlins used. So
True.
It's a trickle-down effect.
It is, but I think there is nothing. It's going to take, literally, to cancel baseball this year. It's going to take Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, and a whole host of other people getting it at the same time for them to shut down this money wagon. It's simply not going to happen. I hate to say it like this, but if there was any team baseball could afford it to happen to, it's the Miami Marlins. And I say that with not trying to be disrespectful to the Miami Marlins, but it happened to the Miami Marlins. And maybe there has to be a way for baseball, and I'm sure they'll tighten up some other things, like maybe finding houses instead of hotels, going in and doing Airbnb houses for the team, making sure they're clean so they're not having to go to hotels, and going straight from a private plane off the tarmac, making arrangements to get them off the plane directly to the house, and they only go from the house to the field. I'm sure there's some type of backups that they're going to put in, but they're not going to cancel this. Here's my question. Will there be more fans at the Marlins Stadium tonight without a game than there would have been with the game?
Well, guys, let's look at the – you hate to lay the blame on the players here, but look at – these are the guys who tested positive. So, when we do contact tracing, do we go back and look at the cleanliness of Philadelphia Citizens Bank Ballpark, or do we take a harder, longer look at the habits of the young Miami Marlins baseball team? This is a young team. These are young guys. They live the lifestyle. They're big leaguers. Who's to say? Who knows what they were doing? Who knows what they were doing in Atlanta? Who knows what they were doing in Philadelphia when games were over or between games? Maybe there's a lot of irresponsibility here that we are not accounting for and that nobody's really accounted for, and that's why you have half the team testing positive.
You're right. Every man in that locker room, every one of those 11 players and 2 coaches, from what I'm seeing from the 4-letter they've all got to look within themselves and say, what did I do wrong? What did I do to lead me to come positive for the COVID-19 virus and put my team in a situation like I have?
Maybe it's not even them. And I've said this before with baseball and football being out of the bubble. What if you have a significant other and they go to Target and the person behind them at Target coughs on them or sneezes on them, or they go to McDonald's and they have to run in and because they're not in a bubble, there's too many what ifs. And so the only way you can kill those what ifs is every road trip has to be designated for something. I'm sure with the MLB, with their pockets, they could rent, 30 players traveling, about 10 coaches. I'm sure they can rent in every city that they need about 5 houses and pay for it for the rest of the season, where players can go and stay in specific houses that no one else will stay in, that they can hard clean in between, and get their players to and from the game. You throw them in a hotel, hell, even if you just get on the elevator and go directly to your room, what if they clear out so you can do that? But what if the person that was on the elevator before you had the devil known as COVID? So baseball has to step up, and these are things I don't know all the particulars, and maybe the next Zoom meeting with the Diamondbacks we can ask. But I even know with them, a couple players drove to San Diego to try to stay away from all the nonsense. But even with that, what if they have to stop and get gas? And they have to go in the gas station. They got to take a pee break. It's so many other factors that go into all this. So I don't want to just blame the players right off. I don't want to blame Philadelphia right off. I don't want to blame their significant other. There's just too many factors out there that could lead to that happening, because once one gets it, also, are they asymptomatic? Are these players sick? Is it something that, that they are still fine with and they just need to clear protocol to get a negative? There's so many questions.
It is tough, and that's Paul. And you're just talking about road games. You've got 30 home games for each of these teams to figure in, and like you said, you've got family when they're at home, and there's so many more. There's so many more likelihood, so many more situations where it's likely that these players could catch the 19 virus because of that. Because there's so many things that Major League Baseball, they have no control over with these players. These players have to live their lives. And that's where the bubble scenario comes in. That's why the NBA is working so well. And unfortunately, I think we're going to see it in the NFL. We had 9 players go on the list over the weekend, but I think unfortunately, once these training camps start, there are going to be more rises of cases with the NFL. But that's neither here nor there. That's a situation they're going to have to deal with. But it's tough. I guess you're just going to have to do more testing and just crack down even more on these players and these coaches and all these personnel for all these teams. But man, this virus it's something. It's kicking our tails.
And the NFL has to take a long, hard look at this.
I'm sure they are.
This is the template, and this is what's going to set the tone for their policies and how they're going to police this and how they're going to attack it. Otherwise, scrap that one too.
Romero, I got a question for you. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, and then I'll go.
Romero, I have a question for you. Wasn't there a way for baseball to do double games on the same field and maybe designate 16 spots where teams could have played and did a similar type NBA bubble and say, maybe in California where you have Anaheim, San Diego, and Dodger Stadium so close, maybe you get, 6 teams or they're playing double headers, 2, 4, 6, 8, you get 18 or, however many teams you need there. And then places like New York where you have the Mets and the Yankees, you get another set of teams there. Chicago where you got the Sox and the Cubs. And that way you don't have to fly from city to city. The proximity is so close where you can basically just double header every game. One team plays at 10 in the morning, another team plays at 4 at night. Wasn't there a way for baseball to do something like that would have seemed a lot more logical?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they were talking about with Arizona, right? It's just the only problem is it's too damn hot here. But yeah, I mean, look at the bubble. Let's be honest about the bubbles, right?